Definitely civil engineering, structural engineering has evolved. For the reason, the science has spread now. And another thing is, the researchers, so many researchers have done from during the 1960s, 70, 80 and other places, particularly in the construction field, because to find a new material, to find the reasons of deterioration and then to address those things, all these things have come. As a matter of fact, I started my career in 1960. So when I started my career in 1960, in those days, we were not having much knowledge, or honestly saying, the knowledge that I have today was not there, because at that time even codes were very rarely used. First, the Indian Standard Code for concrete, I have seen it only, the first code is 1964 code. I have not seen before that. So the 1964 code also very rarely we have seen it, because in those days constructions were done predominantly with stepped foundations, walls, supporting walls, and only for the roof slab we have used the concrete. And for major constructions in public works department like dam, and also for highways department, bridges and other things, they have used it predominantly. Reinforced concrete was used. But in those days, like today, the wave batching was not popular in those days. That is, the materials were measured by volume and it was used. The ratio they have given, for an example, the minimum ratio for RCC is 1:2:4. And supposing you want a better concrete, better strong concrete, it is 1, 1.5, 3. See, this ratio is 1 part of cement, 1.5 part of fine aggregate, and 3 parts of coarse aggregate. That was the meaning, and all by volume. And water also is measured by volume in liters, and then they have been used. It was the knowledge of today's knowledge of wave batching was not prevalent, and it was not there in use. Actually, it has started coming to use only after 1970 or 75. So till then it was only like this. And most of the constructions also, foundation and other things, excepting very few tall structures, heavy structures, majority 2-storied, 3-storied, 4-storied structures were done only with ordinary stepped foundation with bricks and brick jelly concrete in lime and brickwork in lime, and also brick masonry wall also in lime or combination mortar with cement, and then the roof slab with RCC concrete. This was the thing that was there. Then we had confronted with a lot of challenges in the foundations, because the neighborhoods have been developed only in the from acquiring the agricultural lands, which are predominantly used for irrigation and also for planting the plantations. So they are all having clay soil predominantly, and the notorious way of behavior of the clay soil is that it will, during the drought condition, it will completely loses its water and then it will shrink. And when there is a heavy rain, it will swell. So this swelling and shrinkage nature will actually oscillate the building and foundations up and down, and that will not be equal. Therefore, unequal settlements are happening, resulting in cracks in the walls and other things. This was a challenge that we had. Actually, we met these challenges from 1970 to 80. Then thereafter, using the soil mechanics subjects and other things and the knowledge, we have evolved a type of foundation called under-reamed piles and raft isolated footings and other things. Then in 1980s, instead of completely depending on the wall, masonry wall, we have started installing, developing columns, RCC columns, at an interval of every 3 to 4 meters or 5 meters intervals. And then we have constructed the columns, beams and slab. And then the masonry walls are constructed between the columns depending upon the requirement as per the plan. This has started in 1990. And mostly these constructions were done only by the government sector, that is public sector undertaking and government sectors like a housing board, public works department, highways, and so many other government departments, railways and other things. But the private people have come into play only from after 1985. That is, they have started developing lot of, it was a necessity at that time. So due to the necessity, because the population also increases and the apartment for residential buildings were required, therefore they have come into play and they have started doing the apartment constructions. Then in those constructions, predominantly reinforced concrete was used for foundation, for beams, columns, and for slab and other things. And some of the specific commercial buildings with 10-storied, 14-storied and other things, they were all having deep foundations with the piles, because the number of stories is 10, 12. As a matter of fact, in Chennai, the first 12-storied, 14-storied structure was on Mount Road LIC building. That was the first thing. That is, this was constructed during early 70s. Then in Housing Board also constructed two residential tower blocks in early 60s and early 70s. They are very few, not high-rise buildings were not there. Then Housing Board again constructed another high-rise building in 1988, 89 for commercial as well as for the residential buildings. But nowadays, if you see, private builders are constructing 12-story, 14-story, even outside our metro area. You can see that when you go in the Trichy Road, you can find that in almost in tier 2, tier 3 cities, you have got a lot of these things, because the metro is spreading and the people are moving out and they require these things. This is what is happening. This is how the evolution of civil engineering and structural engineering developed over the period of the past, I can say that from 1975 onwards, that is for the past 50 years. And nowadays, pre-stressed concrete also is predominantly used both in bridges, in private constructions, private buildings, commercial buildings, cinema theatres and other places also they are using it. So that is the development, that is how it is happening.